But where we are going to start, Christchurch Hospital's emergency department is under severe pressure, hitting code red nearly every day. Now, that's the highest code of overload. Doctors are warning that patients are suffering, even dying, while waiting for care. Some found in corridors or car parks. There's even a tent set up outside the ED for overflow, but no staff to attend to patients there. It's a problem right across the country. At Nelson Hospital, families can wait all night in the ED, sometimes just leaving without being seen. Leaked data shows most hospitals are missing the government's targets. I've seen patients within 6 hours. Oh, if only it was 6 hours. And staffing shortages are putting lives at risk. Health Minister Simeon Brown says emergency departments remain a continuous priority, and he's just announced the government has allocated $20 million for extra frontline staff over the next 9 months, although doctors say more immediate action is needed. Dr. Bryan Betty, GP and Chair of General Practice New Zealand, joins me now. Bryan, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, Leah. Nice to be here.
Look, lovely to talk to you. Unfortunately, I know we've spoken about this many times, about the state of our EDs, and now we're being told in Christchurch particularly, patients are reportedly dying in corridors or dropping dead in the car park. So basically, patients are now at serious risk. This is a crisis, is it not?
Look, I mean, it's been particularly busy at this time of the year. I mean, in general practice, it's been very, very busy, just as it has been in the hospitals and the EDs. Yeah, look, this is a really complex problem because there's two issues that arise when EDs become blocked up. One, patients can't be moved out of ED that need to be admitted into hospital because there's what we call bed blocks. There's not enough beds in the hospital because patients can't be moved out to other areas, or there's overflow from primary care or general practice because they're sitting at capacity. So it's either how many are coming through the door because they can't get access in the community often, or there's blockages in terms of the hospital flows. ED becomes this squeeze point or this pressure point, which often at this time of the year, especially winter, really, really starts to show up in the system.
Well, I saw the doctor on the news last night, and when he was saying, they're dying in the corridors and dropping dead in the car park, I thought, is he serious? Is he being over dramatic? Why are we not concerned that people are going to the cars and dropping dead? Is he overstating it, Bryan?
Well, that would be a big statement to make, I would have thought. It's hard to say unless you asked him directly. I mean, that would be front page news if that was happening. So, so I'm not exactly sure where that statement's come from. I mean, one of the things I would say about our EDs, and this is very real, we have very, very good emergency departments. So if you have something like a heart attack occurring or you're run over by a truck or one of those major issues that our EDs are set up for, you get very, very good prompt service in New Zealand. We can't forget that. So where that statement's come from, I'm not sure, and certainly it was something you'd have to ask him directly about.
Well, he stood in front of the camera and said it, and I thought, my gosh, that's a big statement to say. Why aren't we not all, panicking? Because my next question was then, are our hospitals dangerous, Bryan?
Oh, look, I think look, our hospitals are under pressure, so we have to accept that.
But
our
not
EDs
dangerous.
are under pressure.
You
we
wouldn't
have to
say
accept
don't
that.
go.
No, look, no, absolutely not. If you do need care, you do need to go. And I still think you get very, very good care in our emergency departments and our hospitals. And certainly I get reflected back from patients who have been admitted into hospital here in Wellington. And I do make a point of asking them how they found the care, how they found the process and what actually happened. And invariably what is said, look, once I got into the system, once I got into ED and started to be seen, I had very, very good care and I can't complain. I get very, very few complaints back once people are in the system. However, I think more the issue is getting into the system when we have waiting rooms full of people. That tends to be more the issue. So the waiting times become the issue that people tend to focus on.
Well, it is,
and I
because
think there is an issue there. Yeah,
there is.
Yeah.
Well, leaked data shows most hospitals are missing the government's wait time target, which was 6 hours. So I suppose that's quite a worry from a patient safety perspective.
Yeah, look, I mean, the targets disappeared for a while, and they've come back into focus just recently over the last year. I think it
Mm,
does it does allow us to focus on how long people are waiting, and to think about the processes in hospitals for moving people through. So I think there is a validity to the targets. However, I think it is a complex problem that takes a long time to sort out. And as I said, and we've talked about before, there
mm,
are shortages in general practice, and we tend to find at these times general practice is full up as well. There are issues getting through the hospital itself because of bed blocks. And we do have an elderly population, so we are seeing this phenomenon of a lot of patients probably getting stuck longer in hospital than they should be, because often there's not rest home beds or other beds to go to or to move on to. So it tends to be a whole of system problem we're seeing, and the wait times, I suppose, tend to really focus us on this pressure point, which
mm.
is at the emergency department. Yeah,
Well, that leads me
yeah.
nicely because I think you've kind of touched on it there, Brian, was, how much of this is about staffing or lack thereof versus other factors like infrastructure, bed block or patient demand, or it's a culmination of the three. I feel like it's the holy trinity here.
Mm. Yeah, I think the three come into focus, don't they? And I think it's not. I think it's very easy to say it's one specific problem, but
Mm,
as I said, I think it's more complex than that when you start to look at it, and it's across the system that this is occurring. And as I said, EDs tend to be this pressure point that you see all the time, because that's where people get access to hospitals, and are referred through. I mean, the other issue that arises is for those high grade situations, those triage 1, 2, and 3, your chest pains, your heart attacks, your stroke,
yeah.
your traffic accident, whatever. Look, I've heard nothing that says that those aren't prioritised straight the way through. But again, if you have an overload of those occurring, then people with lesser grade triage, that is 4 and 5, who may have a cold or a flu or whatever, do tend to wait. So the other part of the equation is who is waiting, who is not. So that
Mm,
we need to be very, very careful that those who need to be seen urgently straight away, because delays do lead to bad outcomes, and
yeah.
that could be a heart attack is a good example of that. We need to know that they are getting fed straight through the system and getting seen appropriately at that time. And actually, in talking to colleagues about that, certainly I've heard nothing come back that if you are having one of those very serious problems, you are seen very, very promptly and straight away.
Mm,
That certainly is what's coming back. But again, once you move back down where that's occurring, you tend to get these, the people waiting longer than perhaps they should. But again, maybe they could be seen at general practice, but that's full up at the moment. So there's this problem that starts to arise.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a real. Well, you're right, because there are still over 200,000 plus Kiwis that aren't even registered with a GP.
Yeah,
And
due
then,
to capacity issues.
well,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
capacity, Brian, and we've spoken about this cost as well. People just will wait till they're
yeah.
almost
Mm,
on, dare I say, at
mm,
death's door before they go to the doctor. I went last week, just for a few little things, and I got a text first saying our fees have gone up, so I paid $83. And
yeah,
I can do it. It bloody hurts. I can do it, but I thought, gosh, I was only paying. You raised it about 6 months ago, so I can see
yeah.
where people go, right, I'll just go sit in ED then, because I can't afford that.
Look, and that's part of what occurs here. So
Yeah.
again, when the system's under pressure like this, as you've identified, and this is a
Mm,
very, very real problem because of
mm,
funding issues that have occurred. Look, ED is free of charge, so I'll sit in ED.
yeah.
So
It's like where to plug the hole,
so
isn't
and you
it,
can see
Brian?
why that choice is made.
It's
Mm,
like where to
mm.
plug the hole in
Yeah,
whack-a-mole, because, the government's given more money to GPs, to general practice. Then it gives more money into Health New Zealand, and then it puts money into 100 million here, millions there, tens of millions there. And,
mm, mm.
you could still double or triple what everybody would like, but it's really hard to find that balance where people are going to their GPs, so they're not having to go to the ED.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying,
mm,
and